I thought I was going to throw up at one point before I got in the car, to be perfectly honest with everybody. Cool factor was pretty special because, just for example, like this hat, right? It doesn't fit me. I look like I'm Yosemite Sam because it's so tall. But at the same time, like that, isn't he the one that wears the really tall cowboy hat, right? I don't have the cool mustache, but anyways. I don't know if he's the greatest race car driver of our generation, but he's got to be close, right? I mean, I think you guys see that week in and week out. So my wife asked me what was wrong with me when I left the house earlier today, because I still wasn't sure I was going to drive, for the record. Because when I left the house, I was like, honey, you just stay home. I'm not racing. Like, there's no way I'm getting in this thing. But when I left the house, she's like, is something wrong? Like, did I make you mad? And I said, no. And she said, are you all right? And I said, no. And she goes, what's wrong? And I said, I got to go start the 5 car in a car that I've never driven on a guy that's trying to do the 1100 today. So there's only a few eyes watching what he does. If I go out there and do something stupid or wreck that thing, everybody's going to know it. When I finally got comfortable, I actually had to tighten my seatbelts up because I just felt like my body get relaxed and I was able to go. And well, to be honest with you, I think even at like 3 o'clock, I was pretty confident there was no way I was going to be able to unlap myself was probably the highlight of the night. My job is unique today, right? Like, Kyle Larson is the reason that we're all here. My only job was keep the fenders on it, keep it as far forward as we can to make sure that we have a great opportunity for Kyle to come back, get back in it. I'm so pumped that he got the 500 in, right? Like, I was bummed that I couldn't watch it. Like, you know, you're in the car and I'm asking Cliff. I think Cliff got tired of me asking how Kyle did at Indy, but it was important for me to know. I wanted to know where he was at and how close he was to making it. The last thing I want to do is wreck this thing, right? As a young driver of this kind of car, I'm definitely not a young driver. I got plenty of gray hair to prove that I'm not. But, you know, if I crash the car, and it doesn't matter when Kyle gets here, if I crash the car, like, the devil's over, right? The last thing I wanted for Kyle was to land in Charlotte and be like, oh, by the way, we wrecked that thing into the garage and you have nothing to get into. I wanted to get to the top 10. Like, when the rain came, I felt like we were finally on that verge of being able to break into the top 10. And that's what I really wanted. Like, I was feeling good. Everything was great. But at the end of the day, you know, that wasn't my job. I said it earlier, if it was 3 laps to go and Kyle was here, we were going to switch out of 3 to go. I can't not state enough how amazing the Hendrick Motorsports organization is. So, you know, for me, I'm here. I have a fire suit. This fire suit didn't happen this week. This fire suit's been, you know, in play since January, right? All of this stuff is done in the off season. Now, this morning we had a little bit of an issue. We didn't know where this fire suit went. So we had a small moment of panic. But other than that, it's been a fun day. I'm glad it's over. And I'll go to Portland next week with the Xfinity Series car and just be Justin again and go have some fun with it. I just wanted to give him some cliff notes of, that's really weird, some race notes of what I thought and what I felt. And I guess they are cliff notes because Cliff's got notes for his notes. So you just tell him what I felt. And I was ready for the driver swap. He says he was not, by the way, because I practiced this morning. He did not. So I think we would have been pretty good, but I was ready. I don't think he was. Thanks for not picking me, Danielle. But you did pick me last week, and I won.
Yes, so the jinx is, the curse is over.
It's gone.
It's over.
I was pretty confident that I was going to be dead last after the first 5 laps. I mean, it was like I was in Europe going on the wrong side of the road. Like, that's how weird it was. I mean, just in traffic, you know, not knowing how some of these guys are on restarts now. And some of them are crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. There were a few guys that I'm like, note to self, do not get anywhere near them. Because we are going to crash, right? Are there moments where I still would love to know what doing this full time would be like again? And if you got drive car, like if the 5 is open and Kyle Larson wants to go IndyCar racing full time, I will gladly step in and fill the 5 seat. But in all reality, I don't know. My phone hasn't rang, I can tell you that.
All right, Jacob.
I'm impressed you know everybody's name like that. I'm a face person, not a name person.
We spend a lot of time together in this
Well, that
room,
is true.
so it does help.
I'm still a face person, not a name person.
Go ahead, Jake.
Amanda's just good like that. Jacob Zillman, Race Face Digital.
Claire, your arm's going to get tired of holding that phone. I tried to put that one out of my memory. I didn't even remember that I did that. But I did get to race with Jimmy tonight quite a bit, actually. And that was kind of weird, kind of fun. I want Kyle to run as many laps as possible. There's 151 left. Is that right? I think. Somebody, if I'm wrong. I want Kyle to run 151 laps and go try to win a race, right? Actually, I missed a call from Mr. H. I probably should have had my phone sitting upright. But I got to find out who I need to even ask at HMS to even see if I can get some of the photos from today. But I'm wearing this tall hat and all these, though. I'm going to look really weird. I wanted to make everybody proud. You know, like, there's no reason to go out there and just do it for the fun of it or whatever. You just want people to enjoy it. And, you know, we're an entertainment business, right? I want the fans that are sitting in the grandstands to have fun and cheer on the 5-car, whether it's Kyle Larson or Justin Allgaier. Yeah, I'm not leaving. Like, yeah, I can promise you, if he goes to Victory Lane, I'm going to go celebrate in Victory Lane with him. I don't know. They found it for me. They had it. It was a false alarm, but they had my uniform, so we were good.
You were going to start in the number 5, and then really just as the race progressed, kind of what that looked like from your vantage point and what is a unique situation, but you truly made the best of it today.
Well, to be honest with you, I think even at like 3 o'clock, I was pretty confident there was no way I was going to be driving today. And, you know, with everything happened the way that it did, you know, being able to be here, just, and I've said it when I was here the other day, you know, the attention to detail that Hendrick Motorsports has, you know, being prepared for kind of all scenarios. And we were that tonight. And to be honest with you, starting the race, I was pretty disappointed in myself just getting acclimated. You know, Kyle's seat is so different from what I run and the steering. And, you know, Cliff Daniels did an amazing job to get me kind of up to speed. You know, we were able to look at the SMT and get the car where I needed to be at. And then just balance. We worked on the balance throughout the course of the run there. To be able to unlap myself was probably the highlight of the night, to be honest with you, to pass a Hendrick Motorsports teammate, to pass Ty, both of which I have a lot of respect for on the racetrack, was really, really nice. And it just kind of helped elevate the way the race went. And we got restarts were definitely tough just with the aero. I mean, you guys all hear about, you know, aero blocking and aero wash and all those things every week from all the Cup drivers. You don't need to hear it from me, but you know, as somebody coming from the Xfinity Series, it was pretty wild how much different it was in traffic. And so, you know, to be able to kind of make our way up through there, we had great strategy and you know, got ourselves up into, 13th, I guess, and felt like there was some good potential to even go further. But I told Cliff on the radio, you know, I feel like Kyle getting here and getting in the car, even having to start at the back, I mean, I feel like he's going to be able to slice through traffic. And this HendrickCars.com Camaro was so good. It's you know, you get opportunities very rarely in life to drive something that's that good, and it truly was that. And so it was really, really, really special and something that I'll take for a number of years as I walk away, that it was a good opportunity.
All right, we'll now go to questions. Obviously, there are several, so be patient with me as I try to get everybody a mic. We'll start with Jordan over here to our right.
Jordan Bianchi.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi.
Again.
We've talked a few times. How good is the car? Because you said on the radio that Kyle gets in that car, it's a winning car.
It's really pretty unbelievable. You know, and I think that the car has more potential than the driver did in that moment, just because I feel like if I was able to go home tonight and kind of sleep on it and get, you know, my head wrapped around the car a little bit more, I'd be able to do things a little bit better or differently. You know, my biggest weakness tonight was dirty air. Knowing where to place the car, how to get myself in clean air. And once we were able to do that, I mean, right there at the end, I think we ran the exact same time as the 20, maybe a couple laps before the end. You know, that was important for me, regardless of anything else. You know, just trying to get up to speed and figure it out. The other part, though, is my job is unique today, right? Like, Kyle Larson is the reason that we're all here. Like, the double is so important. Like, me driving this car, my only job was keep the fenders on it, keep it as far forward as we can to make sure that we have a great opportunity for Kyle to come back, get back in it. And if it was 5 laps to go, or if it's rain delay like it is currently, or if it was on lap 5, like, my job was to make sure that I handed him over a clean race car and try to adjust the balance to where, you know, he'll be good. And I feel like we did that. So I'm excited to see what Kyle does in it, because I think having the experience and knowing what he is looking for in a race car, he's going to be able to slice through the field, like I said. The other side of that is I'm so pumped that he got the 500 in, right? Like, I was bummed that I couldn't watch it. Like, you know, you're in the car and I'm asking Cliff. I think Cliff got tired of me asking how Kyle did at Indy, but it was important for me to know. I wanted to know where he was at and how close he was to making it.
I know what you have said, that this is about Kyle. You know, this is Kyle's car and he's going to get in the car. But as good as this car is there just a small part of you that wishes you would stay in this car to the end?
No, not at all. I know that the car has the potential to go try to win this race tonight. And it would be a disservice to Kyle, to Cliff, to everybody in this 5 team, everybody Hendrick Motorsports. You know, if they've got somebody like Kyle on the ready that can go do this, you got to go try to win the race, right? And they have the opportunity to do that. A little bit of pit strategy, getting a little bit of clean air. Like, I think Kyle has the opportunity to go win the race. As far-fetched as that may sound to some of you, I think that he does. The other part of that, too, is, this whole process, how long have they announced that Kyle is going to do this? 2 years, right? A year and a half, whatever it is. Like, I'm bummed that it didn't work out the way that it was supposed to and run 1,100 miles in one day. I have no interest in holding him back. Could I figure it out by the end of the race? Maybe. But at the end of the day, my job was to keep it clean and to work on the balance. And I think we did a good job of that. And I think we made the 5 guys proud. And now he can go do what he needs to do and go try to win the race.
All right, next we're going to go to Zach Sternolino, and then we'll go to Lee.
Zach Sternillo, NASCAR.com. Justin, there was a lot of coaching on the radio from Cliff Daniels, especially early on in this race. What has it been like working with this team? And I heard you say right before you climbed out of the car that this team really reminded you of working with your 7 team, which I would imagine speaks pretty high volumes considering how well you guys work together in the Xfinity Series. So what has this experience been like, and what was it like getting that coaching from Cliff in real time?
Well, first of all, any of you that know Cliff Daniels, I mean, he is very buttoned up, and he says all the right things, and he does all the right things, right? He's very positive on the radio. But I told Cliff before the race, I said, listen, I don't know what I'm getting into. The last thing I want to do is wreck this thing, right? I am not full of myself enough to know that I don't need help. So any little piece of advice that you can give me along the way, make sure you're telling me, because the only way I'm going to get better is to have direction from you and what everybody else is doing. And you have so many great partners in the 3 other cars here at Hendrick Motorsports, all of our key partners at Chevrolet. I mean, they're able to see all of that. I mean, they're able to see all of the data from every driver, but they're really able to hone in on kind of what we have as a balance and what we need to be doing. Those are tools that are invaluable, right? As a young driver of this kind of car, I'm definitely not a young driver. I got plenty of gray hair to prove that I'm not. But as somebody that's not driven a lot of laps in this car, those moments are invaluable. And as you're learning it, it was a couple of spots here, next restart, okay, we gain a couple more spots. And I think you saw the progression when I was able to understand what he was telling me and really put it into play. I love my 7 guys on the Xfinity side. They are as good as they get. I love the mental game of it. I love their attitude. And that's one thing that the 5 does well. Cliff is a very, very good leader, but he has incredible people on the 5 car. Pit crew, mechanics, everybody, engineers. I mean, it's really special. And Kyle Larson is an incredible race car driver, but they all bring each other up for a reason. They're all top notch, and it was cool to experience. I think you take away some things. There were some things tonight that probably didn't suit my style, but on the other side of it, there's some things that I think we can go back and kind of look at how they procedurally did some things, and I think it would be really good. So, I think that for me tonight was just a lot of fun. I was able to look inside the fishbowl of an ultra successful organization and driver and car team, and make the most of it.
All right, Lee, right here in the middle.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. Did you tell me you didn't want to wreck it because of what happened at Brickyard? Were you kind of having a flashback and, wanted to just erase that from your mind?
Yes, somewhat. But I think the other part of it is, if I crash the car, and it doesn't matter when Kyle gets here, if I crash the car, the devil's over, right? The last thing I wanted for Kyle was to land in Charlotte and be like, oh, by the way, we wrecked that thing into the garage and you have nothing to get into. Whether it was, halfway or whatever that he was going to get in it, or even before that, my job was to get the car to Kyle in a capacity that he could go try to win the race, right? Whenever that was. And so I think that's where the fill-in role is really weird. If we come on a race weekend and if you were maybe in a fill-in role where somebody's hurt and they're not racing that weekend, you can kind of lay caution to the wind a little bit and go try to run up front and to maximize the car. Today, I think you saw some of those restarts losing spots because I wasn't willing to put myself in some positions that I knew were not 100% passes, and I got some damage on the front straightaway on one of them. And to be honest with you, it probably went the other way. I almost got more nervous because now I'm getting run into, and the last thing I need is for the left rear tire to go down because of damage and then crash. Anyways, all that being said, my job was to give Kyle the best race car he could have to go try to win the race, and I think we did that, and so that's where my reservations came from today.
And I think after that, Cliff said he was going to get less aggressive with the setup too, just to make you more comfortable. But that being said, when he comes over the radio and says your lap times are faster than the 24 and the 24 is leading the race, what does that do for your confidence, Justin?
Well, I drove by the 54, the 24 and the 54, and then got racing with somebody else to try to stay, on the tail end lead lap. Got passed back by the 24, and then was able to get back by him. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that's a hard spot to be in because at the end of the day, William Byron is my teammate tonight, right? And while you're still competing on the racetrack, like I don't want to ruin something for him that ultimately loses the lead or loses a position, that will then lose the stage points for him. The way that it worked out, it didn't matter, but you have to kind of calculate some risk in your head. And I think tonight that was maybe the most fun part of it was, wanting to be myself and just go for all of it to see how far up you could get there. I wanted to get to the top 10. Like when the rain came, I felt like we were finally on that verge of being able to break into the top 10. And that's what I really wanted. Like I was feeling good. Everything was great. But at the end of the day, that wasn't my job. I said it earlier, if it was 3 laps to go and Kyle was here, we were going to switch out on 3 to go. I didn't mind that. I knew what my job was, and I feel like I executed that tonight.
All right, we're going to go Matt Weaver and then Kelly. Go ahead, Matt.
Matt Weaver, Sportsnaut. I have no idea how the substitute driver contract or agreement, any of that stuff works. So I'm curious, do you have any sort of bonus or vested interest riding on what happens the rest of the way?
No, I've been lucky enough to be around the Hendrick organization for a number of years, and for me, it really didn't matter whether I substituted or didn't. I was, here on standby. That's something for me that, I've been lucky enough to be around that organization for a long time. I can't not state enough how amazing the Hendrick Motorsports organization is. So, for me, I'm here. I have a fire suit. This fire suit didn't happen this week. This fire suit's been, in play since January, right? All of this stuff is done in the off season, and I think that that's where when we talk about being buttoned up and making sure that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. They had all of that, right? Now, this morning, we had a little bit of an issue. We didn't know where this fire suit went. So we had a small moment of panic. But other than that, they had everything prepared. And so for me, if I crashed on lap 1 or if Kyle goes out and win the race, it doesn't change the game. Pridefully, I want Kyle to go win the race because I want to know that the adjustments that we made and the speed that we found tonight will ultimately give him the opportunity to go do that. But regardless of how he finishes, I mean, just the double in his own, the planes, trains, and automobiles that he played on to get here, it's really special. So, it's been a fun day. I'm glad it's over, and I'll go to Portland next week with the Xfinity Series car and just be Justin again and go have some fun with it.
And then kind of a follow-up on that. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but if Kyle does win, that's your name on that. How would you kind of celebrate that or recognize that? Is it like an IMSA, split win kind of thing? I mean, how would you view that?
I feel like I ran over halfway, so maybe that helps me. I don't know. But actually, I told him I didn't want anything. He could keep all of it. We could even cross my name out on the win list and put his on there. I said the only thing I wanted is that there's the champion slot over here where you get a race winner gets to park their motorhome in the champion slot. I just want the ability to be able to do that. So I don't know if Marcus is hearing me, but if Kyle wins, that's the only thing I want for winning is to since my name won't be on the win to be over there. But in all reality, it will be weird. I know that it's happened in the past. I think Almirola and Denny had it happen in Milwaukee years ago. I'll be sad if it does, not from a standpoint of that I wasn't able to win it. I'll just be sad that Kyle doesn't get the credit for it because I know how hard it is to win Cup Series races, and I know how much effort and time they put into it, and so I want that for him more than anything.
All right, up front for Kelly, please. Kelly, if you can just raise your hand. Thank you.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Justin, two things. First, when you finally got out of the car under the red flag, did you hear the fans in the pit box applauding specifically you and saying good job and thanks and all of that?
I did not. I walked over to all of the crew members and gave all of them a handshake and a hug and told them all thank you. They have made this so easy. I was more focused on that and giving them the credit they deserve. One of them actually picked me up and gave me a big hug, and it was pretty special in that moment. I've had the 5 guys as my pit crew in years past on the 7 team and the Xfinity side. Have a great relationship with them, but the time and effort. I mean, we were at the shop until 9 p.m. one night this week, just going over seatbelts and doing all of them were there, and so to be able to come through today and do all the right things, I felt like that was cool. I don't know if the fans cared. It really didn't matter. I just wanted to do my job and have fun with it.
Along those same lines, this is unique because with the red flag, you got to get out and actually go talk to Cliff and Kyle. I think he was on the box, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a quick driver swap. What did you want to talk to or get a chance to say to them as you got up there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I listened really intently when Kyle and Cliff discussed practice and what he was fighting and what he needed from a balance adjustment. And so, I was able to take that in the car for tonight and to help build myself of like what I needed to feel. But then too, we went from what felt like 200 degrees when we started the race and full sun to what we kind of have now, that chilly, cold weather. The track changed a lot. We ran quite a bit through that transition. And Charlotte's always that way. The Coca-Cola 600, usually the car that leads early on is not the car that's the car that wins the race, right? You gotta go through that transition. So I just wanted to kind of give him an idea of some of the same stuff that he fought in practice was still there, some of the stuff that we made better, and then kind of almost help them decide on, do they want to make any more adjustments? As if I'm assuming pit road will be open, they were able to come down. They're going to be at the back anyways, so they'll have the opportunity to come down, put some tires on it. So I just wanted to give him some cliff notes of, that's really weird, some race notes of what I thought and what I felt. And I guess they are Cliff notes because Cliff's got notes for his notes. So, just tell him what I felt. And that made it good for me because I feel like Kyle, as a racer, like he was it was cool to watch him intently listen, right? And to see what I had to say. And then, he can go use that for when he gets in the car and goes out there and makes laps. So that was cool. I was ready for the driver swap. He says he was not, by the way, because I practiced this morning. He did not. So I think we would have been pretty good, but I was ready. I don't think he was.
All right, we're going to try to get a couple more questions in, and we're going to go to Danielle, Jacob, and then Steven, and then up to Claire. Go ahead. To the right.
Thanks for not picking me, Danielle.
I
But
did
you
not-
did pick me last week, and I won. So
Yes, so the jinx is, the curse
gone,
is over.
it's gone.
It's over. Wanted to know the cool factor of all the things you've done in the sport where this ranks, and then when you were starting the race, the pucker factor, how kind of scared or pressure packed it was.
cool factor was pretty special because, just for example, like this hat, right? It doesn't fit me. I look like I'm Yosemite Sam because it's so tall. But at the same time, like that, isn't he the one that wears the really tall cowboy hat, right? I don't have the cool mustache, but anyways, just being a part of this weekend, right? Hendrick Motorsports has put a lot of time and effort into the double and all of what goes into it. And so just a simple momentum like this hat, right, is really cool, regardless of, how the day goes. Like, just the little stuff. My parents both keep everything from when I was a kid all the way up to now. My mom tells me all the time that when they're gone, I'm going to be miserable of all the stuff they've kept. Well, if they've instilled one thing in me, it's that I'm a pack rat as well, and I'm a memento guy. So this will definitely be something that's really cool. The other side of that is it ranks up there really high because I felt like we succeeded and we were able to move forward and get better and do all the right things. That being said, I was pretty confident that I was going to be dead last after the first 5 laps. I mean, you talk about it was like I was in Europe going on the wrong side of the road. Like, that's how weird it was. I mean, just even though I drive the wheel force car for Chevrolet, in traffic, not knowing how some of these guys are in restarts now, and some of them are crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. There were a few guys that I'm like, note to self: do not get anywhere near them because we are gonna crash. Right. That being said, once I got settled in, you're like, oh, they weren't really that crazy. It's just how you got to restart. So, I think once I got comfortable was a lot better. Now, that being said, I also don't know that I would sit how Kyle sits in my own car. So, the steering wheel was a little bit farther away. He runs a lot smaller steering wheel than I do. So just understanding all the different fit that Kyle does versus myself took me about 25 or 30 laps just to feel like I knew what I was doing. And then from there, we were able to work on it, make it better.
You also did such an unbelievable job and have always been a reliable pair of hands. I wonder, with all the speculation that it'll be a crazy, silly season, is there any part of you that thinks maybe this caught a Cup owner's eye for 2025?
I don't know if it did or not. I mean, obviously, super happy with where I'm at Junior Motorsports and what we've been able to accomplish. Are there moments where I still would love to know what doing this full time would be like again? And if you got drive cars, like if the 5 is open and Kyle Larson wants to go IndyCar racing full time, I will gladly step in and fill the 5 seat. But in all reality, I don't know. My phone hasn't rang, I can tell you that. There's lots of young up and coming drivers that are ultra talented that are ultimately going to be looking for rides. So, I think that's kind of already scienced out. But at the end of the day, is that something that I still wish I could check off my bucket list? Yeah, it is. But the old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I'm loving what I do right now. I've had shots to go for a championship in the Xfinity Series for the last number of years. So, it'd have to be the right opportunity for me to want to do it. There were a few guys that I watched tonight that it makes you realize how important a really good car is also, right? Yeah, you can have a great race car driver, but car better be spot on too. So it's got to be the right situation.
All right, Jacob.
I'm impressed you know everybody's name like that. I'm a face person, not
We
a name
spend
person.
a lot of time together in this
Well, that
room,
is
so
true.
it does help.
I'm
Yes.
still a face person, not a name person.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Amanda's just good like that. Jacob Zillman, Race Face Digital. Justin, you've talked a lot about getting ready to do this, the here and now. I know you've got to go to Portland next week, but when this is all over, whenever it's over tonight.
Tomorrow morning, yes.
And you get at least a day or two to sit back and reflect on this whole process.
And then I fly to Iowa for the wheel force test Wednesday, Thursday. But I'm having to go on Tuesday to watch the Goodyear tire test. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to relish in any of it. But at the same time, it's really cool. But at the same time, like I said earlier, it's my job, right? Like that's why I've been asked to be a reserve driver, and my job is to go out there and do the best job I can. So while it was cool and it was fun and it was a huge moment, I'll go back to doing what I do, and I'll sit, and if the opportunity comes up to do another fill-in job, I'll go do my best again. But as of right now, I did what I was asked to do and tried to make the best run of that I could for those guys.
All right, Steven, go ahead, and then we'll move up to Claire. If I can have our microphone in the middle.
Claire, your arm's going to get tired of holding that phone. Yeah.
Steven Stump, frontrush.com. Justin, obviously, probably the best case scenario this weekend would have been Kyle running all 1,100 miles. But for you personally, how big was, having the opportunity to run as long as you did and, have this chance, especially considering that your start with Hendrick at Indy a couple of years ago was really over before it began?
Yeah, it was really terrible. That's been brought up a couple times. I tried to put that one out of my memory. I didn't even remember that I did that. But I did get to race with Jimmy tonight quite a bit, actually. And that was kind of weird, kind of fun. I look at the way that today could have gone, and perfect case scenario, right? Kyle was going to be able to run all 1,100 miles. With that being said, though, I feel like getting time to get acclimated to the car and to understand what I needed to do to be better and get to the end of the race where I felt like we were running lap times that were competitive and we were, moving through the field and doing all the right things. That was probably more important for me tonight. If he would have come at lap 25 or 50 when I was still not comfortable, would have been a hard thing for me to swallow, right? So as much as it stinks that he wasn't able to run more laps in the race, I just thought it was good for me because I finally got to where I was comfortable. And I can step out of this race car and be perfectly content with how the day went because I knew that I was comfortable and we were making passes. I want Kyle to run as many laps as possible. There's 151 left. Is that right? I think somebody, if I'm wrong. I want Kyle to run 151 laps and go try to win a race, right? I would love for him to run 200 or 300, but the way that it worked out, it benefited me really in the grand scheme of things. It benefited me to give me more time, and it will help me. Number one, kind of understand what I need to do better, and learn and not be closed-minded sometimes. But number two is I'm doing all of the wheel force testing for Chevrolet and GM. Give me a better understanding of kind of some of the areas that the drivers are fighting, right? I think when you test, sometimes it's easy to get locked in on, what you need to do in that moment. But sometimes you don't kind of think in the back of your head what the drivers are really dealing with. And so that gives me a great opportunity to kind of help those guys and see what we can do to be better. Thank you.
All right, we'll come up front to Claire and then to John Newby.
Claire B. Lang. So I was at the pit box when you got out of the car and Kyle arrived. And I would like you to pull the curtain back a little bit more on how unofficial or official the debrief was, because Cliff Daniels was looking for you, and he's like, get him up here. So you go up there. How much can you really help him? And how formal was it? Data? What were you looking at? A little bit more.
It was very informal.
Was it?
Yeah,
Like,
we discussed how cool Indy was and the formalities of Indy probably more than anything. But there are pertinent things that I need to tell him, right? That being said, I feel like Kyle is... I don't know if he's the greatest race car driver of our generation, but he's got to be close, right? I mean, I think you guys see that week in and week out. To go do what he did at Indy, we talked about his speeding penalty at Indy, and he was so frustrated at himself of, how that kind of came together. But, the thing that I love is when I told him what I was fighting, he listened, he ingested it, and he asked questions that I feel like I would ask to kind of follow up. And we were able to go over some things. Will that make it perfect that he goes out there and it'll drive itself? No, absolutely not. But I think he's a good enough and talented enough race car driver that he's going to adapt, right? So the thing is for him, for me, everything was new. All the guys, Trevor Mon spotted for me. Tyler was in Indy with Kyle. So very different voice on the radio for me. I'm used to Eddie and have gotten accustomed to Eddie's style for many, many years and love him. So just having somebody different talking to me between Cliff and him. So when I was able to say some things, they're like, oh yeah, that's normal for us, right? Like we're used to that. But, even from a data standpoint, like I don't feel like that what I was helping them with was it's not about adjusting the car or what the car did. It was more so, okay, what did I do when I got comfortable? And that last maybe 20 lap run was kind of what I imparted on what Kyle needed to look at. And I think he's going to go and just be great whenever he gets back in it.
And real quick, you talked about not wanting to crash the car. You make it sound easy. For the fans and mere mortals, like those of us who are would lay awake at night thinking about it, how much was it you knew that was a possibility? How much did it go through your mind? And if it didn't, how did you keep it out of your mind?
So my wife asked me what was wrong with me when I left the house earlier today, because I still wasn't sure I was going to drive, for the record. My wife is kind of upset at me because my phone stopped working, and I couldn't tell her that I was actually going to drive. So she didn't even know didn't even get to come to the racetrack today. Because when I left the house, I was like, honey, you just stay home. I'm not racing. Like, there's no way I'm getting in this thing. But when I left the house, she's like, is something wrong? Like, did I make you mad? And I said, no. And she said, are you all right? And I said, no. And she goes, what's wrong? And I said, I got to go start the 5 car in a car that I've never driven on a guy that's trying to do the 1100 today. So there's only a few eyes watching what he does. If I go out there and do something stupid or wreck that thing, everybody's going to know it. You don't get to the luxury of just kind of getting comfortable in there, because it is Kyle Larson and he's Kyle Larson. And I thought I was going to throw up at one point before I got in the car, to be perfectly honest with everybody. And I didn't. So when I finally got comfortable, I actually had to tighten my seatbelts up because I just felt like my body get relaxed, and I was able to go. And by the time the race was over, I'm like, all right, we're actually doing the right thing. So it was cool. There's a lot of things that I did for the first time tonight that I haven't done. It was worth it.
Thanks for the honest answer.
Yep,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
All right, we're going to take our final question from John. Nope, you're good.
John Newby, NBC Sports. So you've used your cell phone background to reflect, emotional moments throughout your life and career, whether it's heartbreak after a championship race or, happy times with your family at the beach. Does this get a spot on the phone?
Well, right now it's my wife and kids. Actually, I missed a call from Mr. H. I probably should have had my phone sitting upright, but it's my wife and kids at one of the racetracks, and yes, this is a cool moment for me. But those three women in my life, something on the racetrack will never surpass that. So. While it's cool and it may not be cell phone worthy, I mean it will be on my phone. I'll have pictures. I gotta find out who I need to even ask at HMS to even see if I can get some of the photos from today. But
I'm sure they'll be happy to.
I'm sure somebody
help
will
you
help
out.
me. Yes, but I'm wearing this tall hat and all these though. I'm gonna look really weird. In that regard, I feel like I wanted to make everybody proud. There's no reason to go out there and just do it for the fun of it or whatever. You just want people to enjoy it, and we're an entertainment business, right? I want the fans that are sitting in the grandstands to have fun and cheer on the 5-car, whether it's Kyle Larson or Justin Allgaier. It's been pretty cool, and I gotta say, like, working with the Hendrick cars folks, super awesome, right? Working with everybody there, it's been really, really cool. It's big moments that I'll look back on, and they will be very important in the scope of things, but I do wish my family was here pre-race to take some photos. That's probably the only thing that I regret, is not trying to figure out how to get them here, because I really didn't think that I was going to start the race, and then when I found out I was going to start the race, I literally didn't stop. Like, from the time I found out we were starting and the time I got in the car, I literally was like a ping pong ball bouncing up back and forth between everything that we had to do. We had meetings and people, and it just was kind of wild. And I literally had to like throw my fire suit on in a hurry to even go to the driver's meeting. So that's my fault, but still a really cool moment.
All right, Justin, thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with us. You're always the best at that. And
I don't know. I appreciate y'all. I did get the great pleasure of getting you captive because there's rain outside, so at least that works. But thanks for the help, and thanks for covering Kyle's double. And now I get to go watch him have a little bit of fun and go try to win a race.
that's right. Thank you again.
Yeah, I'm not leaving. Like, I can promise you, if he goes to Victory Lane, I'm gonna go celebrate in Victory Lane with him. Do what? Well, yeah, I guess I probably ought to be there. That being said, though, I do. My wife told me she already put the girls to bed, so they won't know. But I am looking forward to getting home too. I don't know. They found it for me. They had it. It was a false alarm, but they had my uniform, so we were good.